साधे हैं। राहुल गांधी ने कहा कि मैंने गीता को पढ़ा है, मैंने कई हिंदू ग्रंथ भी पढ़े हैं, लेकिन बीजेपी का हिंदुत्व कहीं नहीं पढ़ा है। इंडिया भारत नाम पर भी राहुल गांधी का बयान सामने आया और कहा कि जो नाम बदलना चाहते हैं वो इतिहास को नकार रहे हैं। राहुल गांधी यूरोप दौरे पर गए हुए हैं और यूरोप दौरे के दौरान राहुल गांधी संवाद कार्यक्रम वहां पे चल रहा था। अपने इस कार्यक्रम के दौरान राहुल गांधी ने एक बार फिर बीजेपी पर एक के बाद एक निशाने साधे हैं कई अहम मुद्दों पर।
We look at India and we see a country whose economy is growing, a country which creates technology, that innovates, but also a country with millions of people still in extreme poverty. So what is it that needs to be done to make sure that all these citizens are not left behind, that they also enjoy the benefits of this global progress?
That India has an inherent wisdom, that it has a very long history, a long tradition. And my experience has been that regardless of whether people are poor or rich, they have a sense of what India should be doing and where it should be going. So to me, the first step is protecting that voice and making sure that the institutions, the structures that protect that voice are working and are defended. That's where the whole thing begins. Our leader, Mahatma Gandhi, said it best when he said that the most important voice is the one that's last in the line. It's the most difficult voice to protect, and a nation that is doing that will succeed.
There is at the moment a big international gathering taking place in India. It's called the G20. So on which side is India in international relations? At the end of the day, this is also a place where we study international affairs, right? So on whose side is India?
You know, there was a leader in India once, and they were asked, on whose side are you? Do you lean left or do you lean right? And she said, no, we stand straight in the middle. So I don't, when you're dealing with a country the size of India, we have to have relationships with multiple different countries. And I think it's a simplification to say, whose side are you on? The blunt answer to that is we are on our own side. And as a nation, we act in our interest. And we do whatever suits us with regards to our interest. I don't think, it's so black and white. Are you on this person's side or are you on that person's side? For a large country like ours, it becomes very difficult to come up with an answer for that.
I want to ask about the violence against minorities in India. In particular, because this is close to my heart, violence, caste atrocities in India. Every day we hear, people from the Dalit community killed or violence against them because they went to a wedding, because they went to the school, because they, things that are our rights, just because we're, accessing it, there's violence against people in the Dalit community.
I think it needs to be combated. I think it requires a political imagination, and I think it is very important that it is done. What the BJP and the RSS are trying to do, the heart of what they're trying to do, is trying to stop the expression, the participation of lower castes, other backward castes, tribals, and minority communities. And for me, in India, where a Dalit person or a Muslim person, tribal person, upper caste person, anybody is being mistreated, is being attacked, is not the India I want. So I think it's very important that this question is taken head on, but I don't think that the type of political imagination that is required is currently there. It ebbs and flows. So you have these movements, you have this expression, and then they they ebb away. And I think we're at one of those points where they've sort of ebbed away, and we need to reconstruct the political imagination that will, solve the problem you're talking about. For me, this is the central problem in India. This is bigger than any other problem.
Does this kind of change of a more popular name, we all know India has been named Bharat since its inception, but is there a point or some value to be derived in changing this name in the international perspective, in the weight we can bring to discussions, to be on our own side as you speak?
Well, the Constitution actually uses both names, right? So the line in the Constitution is the line I started with. India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. So I don't really see a problem there. Both words are perfectly acceptable. But I think maybe we irritated the government a little bit because we named our coalition India, so that got them all heated up. And now they've decided to change the name of the country. I mean, you know how these things are. I mean, we could always give our coalition a second name as well. So, I don't think it'll solve the purpose. But people act in strange ways. The history of our country is known to our future generation. It disturbs them. Right? I believe that we should accept our history. If we were ruled by the British for 100, 200 years, okay, we dealt with it, and let's move on. So it's a deeper question.
So firstly, how can we continue justifying and saying that India is the largest and biggest democracy in the world? And two, what is the opposition doing to help these civil society members? Thank you.
I walked across the country 4,000 kilometers to raise some of these issues. What you're saying is absolutely correct. There is a tendency now to intimidate, to threaten, not just members of civil society. I have 24 cases on me. I've got a criminal defamation judgment against me. The first time in Indian history that somebody has been given the maximum sentence for criminal defamation. Very convenient that I needed the exact number of days that they gave me to be disqualified. So we are dealing with this issue. The democratic expression is deeply embedded in India. And the fight to keep the democratic structure of India alive is ongoing and very vibrant. We are part of that fight. Now, when that fight is over, if that fight is over, and the other side wins, then I would agree with you. But that has not happened yet, and I do not think it's going to happen. We are going through a process. We are going through turbulence in our democratic structure, and there are millions of people, I'm sure many, many youngsters in this room, who really believe in that democratic structure and are going to defend it with everything that they've got.
My question to you is, if your coalition gets elected, where exactly do you see yourself placing the role of Hinduism in a post-BJP India? And how concretely do you propose dismantling or perhaps even transforming the legacy of a religious zeitgeist which has captured the hearts and minds of so many Indians today?
Look, I've read the Gita, I've read a number of the Upanishads, I've read many Hindu books. There's nothing Hindu about what the BJP does. There's absolutely nothing Hindu about what they do. Right? I have not read anywhere, in no Hindu book, from no learned Hindu person, have I ever heard that you should terrorize, harm people who are weaker than you. I've never read this. So this idea, this word, Hindu nationalists, this is a wrong word. They're not Hindu nationalists. They are nothing to do with Hinduism. They are out to get power at any cost, and they will do anything to get power, and they will do anything to ensure that the Indian caste structure, the social structure of my country is not threatened. They want dominance of a few people, and that is what they're about. There is nothing Hindu about them.
My question is about the opposition's narrative for the next election. And I saw that Ms. Sonia Gandhi wrote a letter identifying 9 points to the Prime Minister. Is that the opposition's pitch? Because as a minority, of course, it's important for me to have the Pyar ki Dukaan in a Nafrat ka Bazaar. But is there another issue, or are there certain issues that you have identified that will perhaps build more consensus with even the majority community and, you know, get you where you are, where you want to be in 2024?
You know, when you see the people on the stage in the India coalition, you must realize that more people from the majority community vote for us than vote for the BJP. 60% of India votes for us. 40% of India votes for them. Right? So this idea that the majority community is voting for the BJP, this is a wrong idea. The majority community actually votes more for us than they vote for them. Right? They do polarize society. They divide society. They spread hatred in society. And that is their mechanism. They also happen to have very good relationships with the most powerful, richest crony capitalists in the land, who finance them, support them, help them do what they do. And so this is the architecture that stands behind the BJP. The idea that Mr. Narendra Modi is orchestrating this thing is a gross simplification. Mr. Narendra Modi is an instrument of the architecture. And I'm pretty confident that the RSS can get rid of Narendra Modi in 5 minutes if they want to. Right? It is a structure that is doing this. And that structure is now a threat to Indian democracy. So we are committed to fighting that structure.